The recent invasion of Ukraine by Russia has caused millions of people to wonder whether an escalation of this conflict might lead to the involvement of NATO and of the United States. This scenario presents a strong likelihood of deteriorating into World War III and the possible use of biochemical or even nuclear weapons. A common instinct of many people when faced with such worrying global events is to seek information about what famous seers and visionaries of the past, such as Nostradamus or more recently, Baba Vanga, may have said on the subject of a third world war. Not many people are aware of a long tradition of other psychics and visionaries throughout history who are much less known about today, but who also gave specific predictions about a coming world war. While they differ on certain details, many of the predictions of these visionaries of the past are eerily similar in the way they portray the conflicts that will culminate in World War III. In many cases, their predictions also provide similar details about what will happen during this future global conflict and the outcome. Many people don't believe in psychic abilities or won't necessarily take the predictive powers of others on faith, including those of people who were renowned during their lifetime for being able to predict the future. However, when there is a strong consensus about specific future events among prophecies of the past, many of them recorded centuries apart and in different parts of the world, it's at least worth considering what they have in common. It may give valuable clues to the likely outcome of the present conflict, as well as shape our understanding of future events. Relevant interpretations of the more commonly known prophets, like Nostradamus and Baba Vanga, will be explored in future videos. For now, let's begin by taking a look at another widely regarded, but largely forgotten about today, visionary of the past. Though she lived and died in the 17th century, she accurately predicted the rise of the British Empire, Hitler and the Second World War, nuclear weapons, the invention of radio, rockets and the space race, mobile phones, and other events yet to happen, such as a devastating future invasion of Europe. Popularly known as the Seeress of Prague, she was born in Bohemia, which today forms part of the Czech Republic. At an early age, she became an orphan and later traveled with gypsies throughout Mediterranean Europe. Eventually returning to Prague, she lived there until her death in 1658. Her uncannily accurate predictions, some of which are specific enough to be considered almost undeniable today, were recorded by her gardener. Let us examine her prophetic visions, including those which have already come true. By doing so, we can appreciate her track record and bear this in mind when hearing about her predictions surrounding events yet to come.
In the Fogland, a virgin girl will become queen and will bring her land empire and greatness. These blessings will remain for a long time. However, the coming race will not be worthy of their pay, and they will marry each other. Following relationships within the family will not make it possible to sustain this wealth, and this will then end after about 300 years, after which the land of Fod will sink into the ocean.
This reference to the fall of the royal family and to England sinking into the ocean 300 years after Queen Victoria is significant, because it is echoed in the prophecies of a few other visionaries as well. According to several of them, England will be the victim of a type of weapon, which can cause undersea earthquakes and bring about tidal waves. Placing the date as 300 years after the reign of Victoria, the seeress is offering a clue to the possible time frame of a future war involving England and likely other parts of Europe. Queen Victoria died in 1901, which means that the predicted deluge of the UK would fall sometime around the year 2200.
In Germany speaks a man whose sign is a strange cross with arms, and he speaks to his folk and promises them might and dominion. He aligns with the axe-bearer of the eternal state, but this will not bring him any luck. His soldiers with steel horses that move on tracks will come to Prague. The cross-bearer feels sure of himself and looks with pride over the city. But he feels he does not have enough power and moves further into the world. He gives the order, and his officers and soldiers move thousands of miles to the north, south, east, and west. They will melt under the black sun and freeze in the snow blizzards of the land of the bear. The war will have no end for some time, and from the sky will fall pitch and sulfur. Great cities will go up in flames. Mankind is partially annihilated. They want to overcome God himself. With bad hearts they will sow a mushroom, whose seed will fall from the sky to earth. Great is the fear, for the mushroom reaches to the sky and overshadows much of the land. Through this poison, thousands will die a horrible death. The cross-bearer also will find an end, and for 1,000 years they will try to find his body.
It is interesting that the prophecy mentions an ongoing search for Adolf Hitler's body, because the official narrative about his committing suicide and the body having been burned and buried outside his bunker has been cast into doubt as a result of official intelligence documents, which have since come to light. Though it remains a fiercely debated topic, various investigators have recently suggested the possibility that Hitler made his escape to Argentina following the war, where he lived out the remainder of his life, sheltered by a close-knit community of loyal followers.
A small box with round knobs will bring mankind joy and desire into the smallest rooms. Music, frolic, and laughter come from this remarkable thing, and people will listen to the good and bad words. They are building a tower of steel filled with water and believe with this to rule the stars. Because of their boldness, men will become carried away with presumptuousness and will have grief and difficulty. The people will come to suffer very heavily because the human spirit feels it has conquered over the all, and nature is changed. I see a small cornered thing in their hands, which will give them information about everything they wish to know. On a white surface, there appears a small box in which we can see people, animals, mountains, and valleys. Beautiful music accompanies the figures, and the people are happy over it. But all their joys will mean nothing. Tears will flow out of their eyes, and they will flow in a torrential stream.
Was the prophetic vision of the seers a reference to the present age of mass communication, the internet and social media, and the general unrest and division that we are witnessing so much of today? It is interesting to note that she refers to mankind fighting a kind of war only a couple of predictions after the one about mobile phones.
Yet all at once mankind will realize that they are fighting a desperate war, but somehow an unjust war will become a holy quest. Later, but later than ever, they will attain the judgment of it all. Joyous and freer will mankind then be, but also a great deal poorer. The sheep of the world will learn in their spirit, and they will ban lies and dogma, and the work of their spirit will take first place over work with their hands. Because of this, the fields will yield many times what today is thought to be great blessing, and mankind will accomplish a day of work in 4 hours.
Was the allusion to an unjust war, which turns into a holy quest, a reference to the invasion of Ukraine? And was the mention of mankind fighting a desperate war metaphorical in nature, as a possible reference to the disinformation and cyber wars being fought today, between nations and between political factions in the media and human populations? A war, the outcome of which will be that propaganda will eventually be made illegal. The following predictions appear to be of events in the future, since in chronological order they follow the prediction about mobiles and seem to indicate technological advances, which have not yet come to pass in the world.
A ball propelled from water rolls over the earth. It could bring happiness, but it brings only need. A colored box will help mankind to open the womb of the earth, but poison and fire will be their harvest, and it will be difficult for them to close the womb. Glowing air itself will become useless, and the ice of the north will melt, and the land will become prosperous. They will hold rod in hand, which brings joy with skillful use. It can also delay death. Balls will be formed of the food, which they will eat when they are hungry. But they will not become satisfied and full, because the beam makes their bodies even hungrier. Again, there will be surprises, and they will think of totally remarkable things to help mankind. On the streets there will be wagons, which are faster than anything else, but which possess no wheels. Out of glass and earth, garments will be woven, and these will last a lifetime. The night they will make today, and out of blown glass pipes will come bright daylight.
The foregoing predictions appear to speak of developing technologies that could bring an end to world hunger, though it appears that the end result will likely not bring about the desired goal. Cars without wheels is perhaps a reference to technologies similar to those in science fiction movies, such as the repulsor lift technology of Star Wars. Garments woven out of glass and earth is perhaps a reference to silicon and other materials, which will make clothing extremely durable and long-lasting. The mention of blown glass pipes, which make day out of night, sounds like a reference to light bulbs, or perhaps some future technology which will improve on today's lighting technologies. The next prediction sounds quite foreboding, and by making an objective analysis of where it appears we're already headed today, in terms of rapid technological advancement in fields such as genetic engineering, it doesn't sound too far afield of what may indeed eventually come to pass.
They will again mock God. Their crimes will disgust God because they will be able to manufacture people artificially. These artificial humans, however, are poor in spirit because they have only small brains, but they will be strong and resilient, so there will come a new time of slavery.
Then the seeress makes a dire prediction about war.
Again, there are dark times. In the year in which 2 fives are across 19, on the day of Holy Veronica, mankind will scream in fear out into the world, and the end of Prague will certainly happen. The earth will be raked, and God will hold a terrible trial. Nothing compares previously to anything like this. Out of the east there comes a dragon who looks gross. Out of his 9 tongues and 99 eyes, there will shoot deadly lightning, and out of his open mouth there will blow a poisonous breath. Prague, my dear Prague, you will find a unique but gruesome end. One breath dissociates your walkways, sweet and warm. The people will feel amazed. Thousands of people will lie to rest with horribly twisted faces and will freeze in spite of the warmth. The end is at hand. 10 dampened blows to the church are in the air. Yellow dust clouds and poisonous dusts will take the breath of man and animal. In the city there is fire everywhere. The earth moves. Deep crevices open and draw into them the dead and the living. The cemeteries open themselves, and the skeletons laugh a gruesome laugh. Everything sinks into the black depths.
The narrative which the seeress weaves describes an unspeakable weapon, with clear references to biochemical capabilities that are able to wipe out the populations of entire cities. Some have posited the idea that her reference to a dragon represents a future Chinese invasion of Europe. The revelation of the year in which 2 fives are across 19 is rather cryptic and suggests either 1955 or the year 5195. If it is 5195, then we are talking about events thousands of years in the future. Another possibility is that the prophecy refers to events that were going to happen in 1955, which mankind was headed toward, but the crisis was somehow averted through a collective leap in spiritual evolution, or an act of grace, or both. Then again, 2 fives across 19 might be referring to an altogether different year than the more obvious interpretations. It is also possible that the seeress was wrong about the date, or that these specific events are still destined to happen. If certain destined events lie unmanifest in the ether, awaiting the right combination of factors to crystallize, then actions mankind takes or doesn't take in relation to cause and effect might make the actual date of given events fluid rather than set in stone. The day of Holy Veronica, on the other hand, we can be very certain about, as this day falls on February 4th each year.
From Vishehrad comes a fireball. Blunders fly through the air, and everywhere there is screaming and a fire ocean. Everything that was the result of men lies in disarray and ashes. Life is wiped out. I only see pieces and skeletons. Slowly the clouds move away. There, where the dome once stood, I see only a bloody fireball. It is over. Prague, your destiny has fulfilled itself.
This doom-filled prediction of Prague's demise, and the reference to terrifying weapons of mass destruction, is highly significant, as it tallies with a few of the predictions found in prophecies made by other visionaries, such as the birch tree prophecies, which will be discussed in a future video. What we can take away from the eerily accurate prophecies of the Seeress of Prague, with some measure of certainty, is that World War III is not likely to start as a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but that it is likely to occur sometime in the future. After certain technological advancements have come to pass, and after the dawn of a new age of slave labor, resulting from the unethical cloning of human beings to create a servile working class. Perhaps it will be for these and other such abuses of divine laws that mankind will continue to suffer the karmic consequences of its actions well into the future. The defining qualities of the age to come, and the warfare that mankind yet faces before the often cited 1,000 years of peace, which is to come after, can be deduced from the words of others who lived both before and after the Seeress of Prague. A careful analysis of the manifold correlations to be found in their words reveals a surprisingly detailed picture of what is to come. To see more videos about psychic world predictions and the prophecies of other visionaries from the past, like this video and subscribe to this channel.